Hey everybody, Mark Lewis here. Today, I just wanted to kind of dispel some fears and give some insight into why it is that banks are all of a sudden opening up their doors and giving money out in the form of loans. And because a lot of people are like, why is this happening? This doesn't make any sense. It's too good to be true. And really, up until recently, it was too good to be true. My friends and I, who tried to bring down the IRS and the Federal Reserve back in the early aughts, we were sure this was going to happen in 2009. But instead of tanking the US economy, they tanked the euro, they tanked the Europe. And the interest rates went down for us, which meant that banks didn't need to give out money. They're making money they didn't need to hand it out because everybody's getting loans because they're so cheap. We had, you know, historic low interest rates. So everybody wanted to borrow. But now interest rates are going up and up and up. Almost every week they're going higher and higher and higher. And people are getting less and less and less interested in taking loans. The housing market starting to come down. Another thing, we'll do a video on why we may not want to be doing investments in single family or in residential right now. So banks, the only way they make money, well, not the only way, the big way they make money is loans. And the only reason they keep those bank offices open, the branches open, is not so that you can go deal with your checking. They don't make any money on your checking. That's a very, very expensive piece of real estate, a very, very expensive building with a very, very expensive employees and a vault and all this. That's there to make you feel great about the fact that you can get a loan from them and service the loans and all that stuff, so that there's a presence. Imagine how secure you'd feel if there were no Bank of America branches. Would you feel secure about going and getting a loan from them? Probably not the same way. So it's really just a marketing tactic to get you to get loans. But now no one's wanting to do loans. So the banks are they're getting starved out, thirsty for cash. So they're doing what they can to entice, and I'm going to use the word institutions, to go do loans. They're not going to entice you or I, the social slaves, because it's very unlikely that it's incredibly likely that most people, most social slaves, have no idea what to do with $100,000. Even if it was a gift, they wouldn't know what to do with it. They would go blow it on something. Whereas we know what we might do with $100,000. And if not, you might look at one of the videos that we have up that explains some choices you might have that you might not have thought of. But we know that also people, if it's a loan, they really don't know what to do with it. It's always win Lambo or something like this. So a bank's going to shy away from doing high risk loans, even if you've got high 800 credit. And this is very important because we see a lot of people come to our funding program who have high sevens, low eights, mid eights, and getting denied because when the banks look at you, they're not looking for a social slave loan. They're looking to give you corporate loans, because when they loan money to corporations and businesses, the purpose of those businesses, their function, is to make profit. Whereas the purpose of a social slave nowadays is just hedonism. I want to feel good. I want to look good, emotional things. But business is for profit. And banks know that since businesses are for profit, they tend to want to tend to be able to pay back those loans more because they're doing something with the debt. Business debt, good debt, something that Dave Ramsey is never going to tell you about because he is a shill. Anyway, don't get me started. So the loans are going to businesses, which is why when you're in our program, you have to have an LLC and an EIN and a bank account. You have to have those things so that the banks go, okay, we're giving it to a company. And we want to have that set up correctly so that, if there was any examination, not that the lender's going to, they're not even looking for your financials, but in case there was something, you're squeaky clean. That's what we want, squeaky cleanness. So the banks are offering special, unprecedented, well, I guess they probably did this back in the 80s too, but nobody had the facility to be able to incorporate in the 80s like we do now. And if you haven't gotten our pamphlet on how to set up your LLC, it's free and you should download it for sure. So the banks are giving credit willy-nilly to banks, to companies. And if you are a company and look like a company, then you can participate in these incredible opportunities at 0% and more, and on and on and on. And some of the reasons that we see this happening is because of what's happening in the markets. Now, this is Tesla. Just look at the S&P 500. This is the daily chart here. And if you look at the S&P 500 over the last little while, you can see that there hasn't been a lot good going on, right? It hit meteoric highs up here back in December of 2022, which, 2021, which was great. And then it's been steadily declining, and we're expecting some more declination further. And that means that everybody's taking money out of the markets and putting it back into the dollar. And that's good for the dollar, but not so good really for the economy. Here's another one to look at. These are bonds, 20-year treasury bond. Now look at this. You've got the markets coming down and the bonds coming down. That's a very, very dangerous place to be. And as a result, the economy is starting to tank. We're looking at going into a recession. And if you're watching this in 2023, you'll only know then if I'm right or wrong. We may start seeing food shortages and bread lines and this kind of very terrible thing. So doesn't look good. Bonds down, market down, interest rates, inflation way, way up, and interest rates also have to go up, which means people get very scared. We call that risk off. And banks have to go, how do we get people to loan money so that we can keep going? In which you could restate by saying, how do we keep defrauding the people so that we can take more of their money? Well, in this case, they're not willing to take the risk on social slaves, which is on one hand is good. They're not going to focus on stealing your generational wealth anymore, which means it's our turn to take back our generational wealth from them because they're panicked. And now we can take and use and get into Shopify stores and real estate and crypto and do whatever these things that you want that we've been talking about, opportunities that are available to us that were never available in the same way before. So that's what I'm talking about, is this unprecedented opportunity, not because they haven't tried this before, but because of the facility with which we can get incorporated. We can get these loans and deploy that capital back into the marketplace. So that's the reason it may seem like, gosh, this seems like it's too good to be true and all those kinds of things, because it has just never happened in 2 generations. So, but it's happening now, and we can take advantage of it in our programs. And if you haven't taken advantage of this, and you've got a 685 or better credit score, I invite you to apply. It's virtually free to do so. It's $1 and doesn't hurt your credit score at all. So take advantage of this opportunity while you can. I mean, who knows how long it's going to last, but we'll take advantage of it while we can.